Hello and welcome to Suddenly Single, the new and hilarious dating podcast.
Where we're going to get our celeb mates to tell us about their dating disasters.
We're also going to have a few experts in the studio to tell us where you and I are going wrong.
Come on, and I don't think you've got enough makeup on.
I need the sun, I need inspiration. I just want to give. Just want to.
What? No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Listen, if you think that's interesting, wait till you see who today's guest is on Suddenly Single. Candice Gallagher. She's going to tell us how we could possibly get a date.
I just want to give. Just want to get out of here.
Candice Gallagher, thank you very much for coming in. Now, I don't want to talk on your behalf, but I was explaining that I kind of stalked you online because you lived in Singapore, set up your own dating events called Singapore, and then you've just recently moved back to London, still single and hitting the dating scene.
Very much.
So for us, you are under the Petri dish. We're watching you on the front line of dating people.
Yeah.
First of all, why did you come back from such a beautiful place as Singapore? Was there a reason to come back?
Yeah, I tell you, it was a hard decision because it's a fantastic lifestyle over there. But one of the factors, not the only factors, was it's a tough place to be a white woman and a tall white woman dating. And I thought to myself, hold on, I like English men or British men. Maybe it's time to go fishing in the same pond. So I just decided to pack my bags and come back and try being an English girl in England for a few years. Let's see how it goes in the dating scene. That might quickly send me packing my bags again. Who knows? Watch this space.
So you've just given me a whole new idea. I'm going to move to Germany.
Okay, that's your type, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot
Fish
of people
in that pond.
A lot of people tell me to go to the Netherlands. That's where men are very tall too. So that's sitting in the background.
Is that one of the if you said an ideal man, what would it be?
I tell you, I get a lot of crap for this, but height matters to me. It's like the one physical trait. I don't care if
How tall are you?
I'm 5'11", and I don't care if you're thin or fat, bald or hairy, like that. None of that matters to me. But, my dad is 6'5", so my role models of men in my life are pretty tall. But if I think about what kind of guy I actually want to date, I have 3 things that I'm looking for. One,
A pulse?
at this stage, maybe that's all I got to ask for. One is humor, but that's very subjective, right? My funny might not necessarily be your funny, so you only figure that out in the moment. 2, kindness.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit overrated. Like, I think people write it off as a bit of a cheesy thing to say, but I just want a good human being who's aware of other people. And then 3, ambition. I don't care what you want to be. I don't even care if you don't know what you want to be. I just want to date somebody who's wants to go places. And so that's kind of what I look for when I go dating. And then I think, like everybody, you look for a bit of a spark,
But what is that spark?
Yeah, I don't know.
We were talking about the spark, weren't we? Pheromones before.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, we've both been on dating apps for quite a while now, on and off.
Centuries.
Yeah, centuries,
Yeah, I know the feeling.
centuries. And, you start off, Tim was saying, really enthusiastically, filling out your profile, putting out your pictures. And then by now it's like, actually, I'd like to have a coffee because within 5 minutes whether there's any spark. And without the spark, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I tell you, I've been thinking about it a lot recently because I've been reading people say, like, don't look for a spark because a spark is just a flicker that will peter out. And a couple of weeks ago, I went on a date with a guy and he was like perfectly nice. But I think even the fact that I've described him as nice already kind of shows to me, like, that's not what I'm looking for. And I made a video kind of sharing what my experience of the date was. And I said, it was very nice, but I didn't feel a spark. And I got a lot of comments from people saying, you can't make that decision so quickly. A lot of people saying, I wasn't interested in my husband on the first date. And then 7 dates later, I fell in love with him. Give it another shot. And I'm really torn because on the one hand, maybe I do need to think differently because I'm still single and maybe my approach isn't quite working. But on the other, I believe in trusting your instincts about somebody.
What's intriguing for me about you is that you're not only going on the dating escapades and adventures like Siobhan and I do, you're chronicling it. Why was it important, or why did you think, oh, I'm going to film this? Because it's quite a personal thing, isn't it, to go on dates?
And let me just immediately add a disclaimer. There's no like hidden camera in my necklace that these men don't know about.
No, I think you're very upfront and honest. It's about your point of view.
Yeah, my experience.
And you're always very nice about what's gone on.
Thank you.
And you don't throw anybody under the bus or give anything away. You just give your point of view of dating. But why did you want to share that with other people?
Yeah, do you know, it started like everybody, I'm sure this would resonate with you, going on again, off again dating apps. You know, you're like, okay, let's do it, let's go for it. And then at first you're like, oh, some people have swiped on me.
Yeah,
and then you get fatigued.
flattering.
And then I realized I was like, oh, this is depressing me, I've got to get off again. And so last year, I said to myself, right, let's try again. Let's go back on the dating apps. But I really try to think, how can I do it in a way that makes it a little bit more enjoyable for myself? So the first thing I did is I put some guardrails in it and I said, okay, I'm going to try different apps and I'm only going to do it for 7 days. I'm going to download it on a Sunday and I'm only going to swipe on that app for a week. So already that made it a bit more intentional for me because we've all sat in bed like swiping for hours and then you're like, what just happened? What time is it? And then the second thing is I really enjoy making content and I find it's like a creative extension of myself. And so I thought, I'm sure there are other people who are sharing similar experiences and may be interested in this process. So I kind of coined at the time this idea, 10 dating apps in 10 weeks. And I just shared the stories along the way. And I really make an effort. I conceal the information, any kind of identifiable information about these guys. And even if I have a bad time, I'm not overtly criticizing them. But I just think this type of content, it's enjoyable for me, but it's resonating with single people and people in a relationship. Single people can empathize with the experience, and people in a relationship are like, what's happening out there? What's it like being single? Should I venture back into those waters or not?
What apps have you been on that you would say were best? Your top 3?
Depends on which way the wind's blowing on any given week.
Okay.
I think the popular and most common top 3 are Hinge, Tinder, and Bumble. What I think they kind of oscillate between which ones is a good experience. I'm a big fan of Bumble and the whole ethos of it, but I tell you what I feel, or what I'm observing, is that because women make the first move, I think that men are getting lazier on that app than they are on other apps. So as an example, right, every time I send the first message, I try and come up with some sort of question, whether it's a silly question or something about their profile. And what I'm seeing is 50% of the guys will respond to that question and then nothing else. There's no, let me ask you a question back. And I don't want to do all the heavy lifting, right? It can be equal, or even I can, take a bit of the majority, but I feel like that's already indicating their level of interest or really lack thereof.
Or when they just say K back.
Yeah, that's an immediate no. Thank you.
Exactly. Now,
I mean, just for anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure most people who are listening do, that Bumble is where women have to make the first move and ask the guy out.
Yeah. And then, so I have 24 hours to message him, and then he has 24 hours to message me back. Otherwise, our chat is closed completely.
But Tinder, this one fascinates me because I just never would. And I've got a very old-fashioned view of Tinder.
Yeah.
I just think people are not on there to meet anyone for anything longer than an evening.
Yeah. I mean, look, you hear, oh, we met on Tinder and now we're married all the time.
Yeah, you do. But
you hear it.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely has, it has a reputation of leaning in that direction. And really interestingly, actually, Tinder's recently done a campaign that leans into that reputation to tell people it's not just about that. So instead of, coming out and being like, oh, we're not just about hookups, try us again. They're actually like, yeah, we can be a hookup app, but hookups can lead to something as well. So they're actively trying to change that reputation.
Whatever app you're on, what tips would you give to somebody for your profile? How many pictures are appropriate? How much of a biog should you give?
Yeah.
Sometimes you go into it and it's like the beginning of Star Wars and a journey a long, long time ago, and you're like, Christ, I'm already bored. But you still want some flavour, don't you, of something?
Yeah, but it's funny you're saying that from a male perspective, because as a female, I regularly see profiles that have like nothing in them at all.
Yeah, and I think that's bad as well. But when it's too much, you're scrolling it up.
I get it. I mean, look, there's all these recommendations. Have a close-up, have a body shot, have one with your friends to show that you're a fun human being. You can really kind of get into the science of it. I tell you, some immediate no's for me when I come across a profile is if there's only 1 or 2 pictures, if there are no words at all, if there's only group photos. I notice especially if the first photo is a group photo, it's clear that he's kind of hiding who he is. And then later I have to be like, oh, is he that one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just about just be honest and put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
I remember way back when, 10, 15 years ago, for the first time I was getting on the app and I was talking to a friend about it. And I was like, oh, help me write my profile. She was like, absolutely not. You just have to write it yourself. You have to figure out how to express yourself. And that's tricky, right? In the same vein.
Do you think that is a mistake? I've had a friend do my profile.
I don't think it's a mistake, but I think you should also feel that you are represented authentically. So even if your friend does it and then you feel good with it, so then post it.
Yeah.
But it was funny because last year I showed my profile to a female friend who's very successful dating. And she was like, immediate no to that photo, immediate no to that photo. And this is a woman, not even a guy.
Why?
Because I was trying to show the well-roundedness of me, right? I was like, okay, sometimes I can be cute. Sometimes I can be a party girl. Sometimes I'm a family person. And she was like, it's a bit scattered. It's hard for someone to fully, she's like, put the photo with the boobs. It works. Men are simple creatures. You just need to reel them in and then figure out the more mature stuff later. So I put the photo with the boobs. I don't know what to tell you.
And did that work?
It's working. And I tell you, it's working in 2 ways. One, it's a little bit of bait to dangle out there. But 2, it's actually helping me figure out pretty quickly who's there for just a hookup versus who's saying, I'm attracted to you, but I'm interested in exploring something new.
Your boobs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're also doing stuff that not apps. So you're going out. What things are that, where can anybody do those things and meet people that are not on the apps then?
Do you know what I'm doing?
It's like, apart from a time machine.
I'm just trusting the Instagram algorithm to point me in the right direction. I feel like, you know how Instagram learns so much about you, what you engage with, what kind of content you post. It's been sending me a lot of ads for dating events in London. So I was like, fine. Last year I did 10 apps. This year I'm doing 10 dating events. And so basically anytime I get an ad, I screenshot it and then I'm putting it in a calendar. So I've gone to 2 already.
On your own?
Yeah.
That's very brave. You've moved across the world, set up again, and going on these dating.
I'm just a hopeless romantic, and look, of course, the whole process gets you down, but I'm like, right, pick myself up again.
Because you seem very sunny. Do you have days where you're like, I'm just over all of this?
Absolutely. Like, there's ghosting is quite a lot. Like, I don't like most people. I don't like things I don't understand. Mm-hmm. So if you just ghost me with no explanation, especially if we've gone on a date, I'm like, wait, what was it I said? Or what was it you did? And I don't want to be left guessing. Or, when you're swiping on people and let's say you don't get any matches back or you don't hear from them when you send that first message, it can sting a bit, right? And each sting may be okay, but then after a week of stings, you're like, well, I don't feel good right now. It's such a roller coaster of an experience. And I try to be honest about that experience because I think, you see in the movies this sort of very rom-com magical meet cute moment, but it's absolutely a roller coaster. Let's see what happens next week. So back to the events. Mm-hmm. So last night I went speed dating.
Yay.
And I'll give you the details. I can tell you're very excited to go.
I'm very excited.
Okay. So I was thinking, is this going to be a bit of the stuffy old traditional, 2-person tables, 5 minutes on the clock, you shift around. It was found it to be a much sort of fresher experience. So you show up at a bar, you check in on your phone, you get a ping that says, hey, your next date is Joe, and they show a picture of him. And then you kind of look around the room trying to find Joe.
So you have to find Joe.
I've
failed already.
Yeah.
I'll be talking to Jason.
Hey, but if you connect with Jason, no problem. And then you go up to them and you're like, hey, is this you?
Yeah.
And then you just go sit in a corner for a bit, have a chat, and then the phone pings again and tells you time to move on.
And how many
And there's
people
ordinary other people in the pub that don't realise what you're up to.
Yes, there were. So then I saw this group of 5.
See, that would give me anxiety.
Yeah, and I was like, is he available? I don't know if he's available.
Going up to some married guy who I just think looks like the
Your
photo.
wife's hitting you.
Yeah.
I really wish more married men wore wedding rings.
It
it's just for us single girls, it's something we look for.
Yeah.
And so when you're not wearing a ring, we're like, oh, okay, maybe this guy is an option.
Better than that, have you ever been to St. Croix in the Virgin Islands?
No.
So they have a St. Croix ring that a lot of people, inhabitants, wear. And it can, if you put it on that way, it means you're married. If it's the other way, it means you're single. And if it's unclipped, it means you're looking. Some people are singing, I'm single, but I'm not looking. And you just clip it. And it's the
we should
St. Croix
market
ring.
those.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Suddenly
a traffic
single
light
app.
party. Have you ever been to one of those?
Yeah, when you wear green or red.
Although I've never been to one, and I think I would feel a little bit self-conscious because even last week when I went to the first dating event, I was really nervous.
I bet. No,
because you just don't know what to expect.
Did you like anybody? How does that work? Do you have to tell each other, or do you then call the people that are running the party, or how does that work?
Let me tell you about the first one.
Oh, okay.
Walked in.
Yeah.
7 fabulous women. 1 icky man.
Oh.
It was bad. It was bad odds. And I feel like...
I apologise.
Yeah. It was just bad odds. And, you know, on the one hand, this was an event where you didn't have to RSVP and you could just show up on the night. But on the other, I think people kind of lose a bit of intention or they bail more easily.
How does it work? Do you, like, in your 5-minute conversation, have you got to say at the end of it, here's my number, by the way, in case you want it? Or do you just move on and then tell the people that set up the party?
Well,
or how does
let
that
me tell you something
go?
that took me by surprise. It was slightly awkward in the process. So I've got the picture of Bob. I've spent the last 10 minutes chatting to him. Bing, meet the new person. Then it says, how did you rate Bob? And I'm standing next to Bob and I'm literally like turning my phone away and being like, never want to see him again. Friend, liked him, really liked him. And then it asks you to put in some traits about him that you liked. So he's friendly, he's chatty, he's humorous, whatever.
Before you go to date number
I'm
2,
sitting next to him,
much.
like, you know, kind of hiding my phone, trying to kind of put it in. And then the idea is that after the event, you know, I think the old school speed dating had a pen and paper and then they match it up. Then the next day, the app will message you and say, hey, you and Bob liked each other. Here's a way for you to chat.
Bob
Also-
hates you as well.
Yeah.
Mostly, wouldn't you tell fibs? Because I would.
In the
I
moment.
would just say, in the moment, nice person, liked him. I mean, I'd say the same about all of them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go dreadful.
Yeah.
You're not going to crush someone in front of you, are you?
So the other one was Bumble's. So Bumble is a dating app, but they, every Thursday, they take over a couple of bars in London.
Do they?
And they like send you a message, like as if you were talking to a guy, and they say, these are our list of bars. Show up at any of them at any time between 6 and 8. Show the bartender your profile and get a free drink on Bumble. You don't have to pay anything.
I'm joining Bumble. We need to get out more, unless tonight works.
Oh, okay. Now we'll spill the secrets. So yes, I've done the Bumble. I've done the speed dating. I think they're all much of a muchness, right? It's just like show up at this place, this time, whatever. But I think the wild card in any kind of event is who's showing up and are you attracted to them? So that's always you have to see what happens on the night.
We're going to bring in a relationship expert to give
Okay.
you some tips.
Okay.
I don't
Or
think
us.
you need them. I think you're sorted,
No.
but hey ho.
I just wanna get out of here.
So Candice, this is Nina Mander. She is an empowerment coach.
I mean, I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
But I also think that, like, moving into real life dating and the events, it's so important that we actually have fun with it and show up in as our true selves, which I think with the dating apps, it's really difficult to do, and to try and sort of put across who you are and what you want and what you're looking for and show up in your authenticity on a dating app, right? So I love that.
Yeah.
I think when people turn up, they have to show who they are, don't they? When you're behind a keyboard and you just like somebody and say, you just never know. You know, the wife might be upstairs or they might have 10 other people that are saying hello too. But do you find that once they actually make the effort to meet you, there's something in there because they obviously want to meet you?
Yeah, and you can tell pretty quickly based on how someone's answering a question or avoiding a question if you feel like they're being honest with you and you kind of get a sense of them. You know, talking about spark, that's where you can kind of think, oh, well, I didn't feel something in the first 2 minutes, I'm out.
Yeah.
But so that's why I like about in person is that you just give it a bit more of a chance to like just have some breathing room. But you just have it's a feeling, right? If you like someone, I mean, I even feel it in a friendship capacity. You know, you meet a new friend and you're like,
It's the same with women.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a generational thing though as well? Because, you know, we're at the 50 plus mark and there's people out there dating in their 20s that are on their phones and they're looking at different ways. And it doesn't mean they're not interested. It's not that they don't want to meet, but they don't do the normal kind of chatty kind of thing that would normally make somebody of our age go, yeah, they're into me or not. Do you think there's a big difference in the generations?
Yeah, because technology has moved on and a lot of things are on the phone. But I think that with the dating apps, you can mistake communication for connection. And then if you can be speaking and speaking and everyone's saying all the right things, and then when you finally meet, you're like, no way. Like, because you know quite instantly whether someone is for you, even in a friendship capacity, whether they're your kind of person or they're not.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, you know, if we're really serious about trying to find a loving, healthy relationship, that partner for us, you know, with the dating apps, I feel like they long things out. Whereas in person, you know, when you speak about like the speeding events and things, you know, you've got 30 people in a room, that's those options. Whereas do you even end up going out on a date with the 30 people that you've matched with, you know, and it hasn't sort of faded out over time?
Right, I think we should do Goldfish Bowl of Truth. Everybody's going to have a question to answer.
I just wanna get out of here.
Right, Candice, you get to go first.
Feel nervous.
Nina, you might as well take yours now.
Thank you.
Why do I feel I'll have answered this before? But let's try. Oh, I haven't ever had this one.
Look, Candice, I think if you can read the writing, you're first.
What's the most awkward date you've ever had? God, tricky. Thing is, I believe I'd rather have a really crappy date than just a boring date. Let me think about, can I think about bad date? Can I give a bad date answer instead?
Yeah.
Okay, I tell you one, and I still just can't imagine this. I went on a date with a guy, and just pretty quick, we were having cocktails, and pretty quickly I was like, I'm not into this. And I found myself carrying the entire conversation and ending up asking questions that I even wasn't interested in the answer to. And I was really kind of bored in the conversation. I was starting to think about my exit. And he turns to me and he says, can I ask you a question? Be honest. How do you think this date is going? Now I was interested again. And I can speak honestly, no problem. And I said, to be honest, I'm not enjoying it. I feel like I'm carrying this conversation and I don't really enjoy what you're saying. And he goes, interesting. Candice, let me tell you something. I'm an alpha. I had two options coming into this date. I could have sat back, which is what I did, or I could have leaned in and I could have led the conversation. I watched you to see how you were going to react in this date. And I sat there and I said, are you serious? I was like, why are you even playing any kind of game in this process? And then he said, listen, I think there's a lot of potential with us, but I don't think you're going to be into me in this environment, in this whatever. Can we go just for drinks as friends and see what comes about? Now, this was the most interested in him I'd been all evening, because finally the date has taken an interesting turn and the conversation is a lot more honest. And I said, interesting challenge. Let me think about it. I'll come back to you. And then he carried on talking about how much she's an alpha. And I was like, I'm going to stop you. I've heard what you said. I'll get back to you.
I think this is the worst date I've heard of for a long time.
Okay, that's the tip of the iceberg. I could spend the whole time telling you dates like that. So that would be Mr. Alpha, I would say, is one of the many bad date stories that I've had.
Nina?
I haven't had that many awkward or bad dates, to be fair, but there was a date, say about a few months ago, where it was coming to an end, or I wanted it to come to an end. It wasn't anything going there. And I was like, actually, I don't want to go for any more drinks. I'd rather, we just parted ways now. But what did I do wrong? I need you to explain to me, where did you decide that it wasn't going anywhere? I was like, I just don't have to explain.
Hello.
But this is not for me. Thank you very much. But he kept going like, no, I need you. I was like, I'm sorry, darling. I'm not here for your needs.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Do you feel any pressure to find a partner? I'll be honest, less and less. Less and less. Yeah.
No.
But I think a bit like Tamsin was saying, another guest that we had on another show,
Tamsin Outhwaite.
Tamsin Outhwaite, it could be this stage. I'm a little bit fed up. I'm just a little bit jaded of the apps and everything. Maybe I just need a breather from it. But I will come to your dating do.
The suddenly single supper club?
Yes, I'm there.
SSS. That bodes well. What about you?
Do I feel any pressure? No, I don't. I'm secure within myself, and I'm building a life that I love, and I try to sort of purposely do things that I love, and I know that it will come because I've opened my heart, and it's like, I'm ready, I'm out there.
Yeah.
I just trust that it will work out.
Yeah, totally. I think, just because I have a desire to be in a relationship doesn't mean that I have any less self-love. Doesn't mean that it's not right for me to put myself out there and try. I think a lot of people automatically assume like, oh, you're looking for love. That's so desperate. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm looking to share my life with somebody, but I am living my fullest life along the way. Yeah. So preference does not equal desperate.
Yeah, there we are. We're not desperate.
Make it sound like I said.
She looks you right in the eye then.
Okay, what about you three desperate people? What's your favourite thing about dating? Good question. What's your favourite thing about dating?
Hope.
Well, I think it's getting
I'd
out and
agree
about.
to
You meet
go.
different people. It can be a good night, even if it's not the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thrill of like going into a date being like, full of hope and possibility.
Yeah,
And then it
possibility.
being crashed and
Yeah,
smashed on the
you
floor,
pick
spat
yourself
on,
up
thrown
again.
Yeah.
And also, like, a first kiss is so exhilarating. I don't know about you, but I love snogging. And so, like, having
I
that
love
first
snogging.
makeout sesh, it just makes you feel so good.
That's a great one. And you? Do you like snogging?
I
Professional
do, but
opinion.
but no, I like dating. I think it can be really fun. And even if we're not going down, there's no connection there or whatnot, it's good to meet new people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we done all the questions?
Oh, mine is, what is your ideal first date?
Oh.
So I'm answering. I quite like an activity.
Yeah.
Oh no.
On a first date?
Yeah, because
I'm not dating you.
You're going to go 10-pin bowling with some weirdo after about 2 seconds. You're like,
Round
I
of
don't, there's
golf?
no, I definitely. That was the mistake I used to make, is arrange to have dinner. Like going to actually have
Really?
something
So you
to
don't
eat.
do dinner anymore on a first date?
Not on a first date, no. Dinner, I have drinks on a first date.
But does it have
Actually,
the
I'll probably
possibility
I've
for
actually
dinner?
gone right
Yeah,
down to
possibility
coffee
of
for a
having
first
dinner.
So you don't make other plans?
Yeah,
Strategic.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
Escape.
ready to go on. I don't say, let's go for dinner and sit down, because you just don't know, even with a bit of texting.
Well, you enjoy those activity dates. Don't let them shame you into not doing them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just a bit lazy.
You just want your wine delivered to you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's an activity.
I'd have to be going out with you for 10 years and it would need to be your birthday for me to do something active.
And on that
I really
bombshell,
want to go to whatever
Nina,
it is.
Candice, thank you very much for coming
Thank
on
you so
Suddenly
much.
Sing. I think we've learned a lot.
We have today. A lot. Yeah.
Just wanna get out of here. Woke up feeling good.
Next time on Suddenly Single, we will be talking to Alex Best. She'll be talking about her ex-partner, George Best, who passed away nearly 20 years ago, and finding love online.